Welcome to the tutorial for mastering audio levels in Final Cut Pro. So mastering is getting audio levels to be somewhere around line level, dynamically somewhat compressed so it doesn't fall very low on the meters and there aren't very quiet parts and very loud parts on your metering. So typically what you'll see on a timeline is this view where you have the clip. And these are two separate clips. One was shot with the HVX 200 Panasonic camera, and the second clip here was shot with the HMC 70 Panasonic camera. And you'll notice that the HVX 200 shoots 4 channels of audio, or records 4 channels of audio, while the HMC 70 records 2. And they come into the timeline after they've been logged and transferred without being able to see the audio waveform. So that's one of the first things I recommend is you use this sub-menu right here next to the track heights and show your audio waveforms. So I can immediately identify which track is the direct mic and which track is the onboard microphone by looking at the audio waveforms. Some of the tracks don't even have audio, like this bottom track here. So a quick, easy way to move through your audio, if you had a whole timeline worth of stuff, what I normally do is select everything, and then I would unlink the audio from the video, and then unlink the stereo pairs of audio, and delete the tracks that I don't need, pan them center, and then make sure that my levels are good to go. So to do that, you can highlight everything, either Command A or some form of selection. And what you can do is Command L will unlink the audio. So you see the underlines disappear. So there's no longer underlines here. And here, there are no tracks that are linked together, so I can go in and click delete some of the tracks. And over here, the stereo pair is still linked. So to unlink a stereo pair, that's Option L. And this can all be done if you unlink timeline selection also. That's another option, so that none of these are linked together when timeline selection is turned off. I usually leave these on and just unlink the things that I need to unlink and relink the things that I need to relink. You can relink by selecting 2 clips or all the clips, and Command L is to relink. Command L will unlink again. So I can look at this clip. If I zoom in, I can see that there was one channel that wasn't being recorded and one channel that was being recorded. So I can delete the channel that wasn't being recorded. Now, if I double-click any of the clips in the timeline, they'll open up in the viewer. So I've double-clicked the audio track, and you can see the audio track here. This already has been panned center. This, however, has not. So if I was to double-click this clip here and look up into the viewer, or look at our meters while it's playing, I can see that audio is only playing out of the right side and not the left side. So you need to pan everything center. In order to do that, you can either click one of the arrow buttons next to pan, or you can drag the slider over, or I like to use the key command. So if I select the clip and then hit Control period, it'll automatically pan it center. And this can be done with a multiple, all the tracks selected, Control period, they'll be pan center, and then when you play it back, you'll see that you have levels on both sides. But if you look at the levels, we're way below 0. So here's the easy way to do it. If you go into Modify, Audio, Apply Normalization Gain, normalization is going to analyze this clip and look at all the waveform. You see the waveform in the background. It's going to pick the highest peak, look at the meter and say, okay, it falls at about -18. I'm going to add 18 decibels of gain and get it up to 0 decibels, or whatever you choose it to be. So we're going to go up to 0 decibels and say okay. So it's going to go through the track, and now if I double click this again and look into our filters that we've applied, it looks like we've added a gain filter for 10 decibels. So the highest peak was at -10 on the meter, somewhere around here, and we've added 10 decibels to get us up to 0. So now if we play this back, we're much higher on our meters. I'm going to look at some dynamic stuff. So here, I'm taking a look at a dialogue track. So what we would like to do here is look at our meters.
Yeah.
So if I
So what do I just ask the questions, or
look at our meters here, I can see that his dialogue is kind of dynamic, and it's kind of low. And this actually sounds like an onboard mic, and it's not a direct mic, so this probably went out and got re-recorded. But what we can do to clean up our dynamics, if you go into the Effects tab and then you go into your audio filters, Apple, and then peak limiter. This limiter is a heavy compressor, and what it will do is limit anything from going over 0 decibels, and you can turn up the low stuff. So I'm going to turn up the pregain amount by 10 decibels, hit the spacebar, and our dynamic range is now falling somewhere between -18 and -6, which is right where we want to be. So that's pretty much the gist of mastering. The goal is to select the clips that are necessary and delete all the clips that are unnecessary. The direct mics are the necessary ones. The indirect miking situations may have a little bit too much ambient noise. Then you're going to go through and pan it center. That's control period to pan center. Then you're going to look at your meters, and if your meters aren't correct, you can normalize, and you can add a peak limiter, which is found in the audio filters Apple filters, and drag it to the clip. And then you can adjust your pregain amount in order to get your levels up, but never over 0. So that's a really fast way of mastering audio levels in order to get them up to broadcast levels.